Christene Marie, and I'm excited to dive into a topic that is so incredibly important in the way that we organize and run our businesses. But pretty much every single topic that we talk about on this show does touch in on the personal side of things. So this is a tactic, and also it's a principle. Every single thing starts with a principle, and then there's a practice behind it for the most part. I can't think of most anything where there is not a principle and then a practice as the manifestation of it. So what we're going to talk about tonight is really diving into the principle and practice of trust. I've been writing about this over the last few days, and y'all, it is wild the impact that it makes when we are actually building a brand based off of trust and doing business based off of trust. 3 weeks ago, I hosted a fireside chat with the CMO of the fastest growing company in the US. He had successfully exited his business and actually sold it to this healthcare company, and then became the CMO. And they're now the fastest growing company in the US. And so we had such an incredibly good conversation. And actually, he's going to be on the Knowing podcast. So when season 3 comes out of the Knowing podcast, he'll be on there, which I'm excited for. But he and I had such a good conversation, and he was talking so much about how when he did the early stage startup for his business, because one of the things that I did before we dove into that conversation was I took an audit from our audience, how many people were in the early stages of under 5 years in business, and about 70% of the room raised their hand. So we really geared the conversation for early stage. Yet this conversation touches every stage of a business. And so I asked him, what were the core tenets of what positioned his business to be able to scale and then be able to sell as well. So when we're thinking about our business, we have to have clarity surrounding, do I want to sell this thing, scale it, or succeed? Do I want to hand it down and pass it down? And once we get clarity on that, we then can really build a business around it. But even still, regardless of what our answer is for any of those 3 questions, this core tenet of, regardless of where we're taking our business, there's a couple core tenets that are so important. So when a company is acquired, when a company is purchased, or even handed down, the books really have to be in order. There have to be systems and processes in place, and trust. Do the customers actually trust you? And I was interested to hear him say that, because frankly, so many times I was working closely with a $36 million company in helping them get acquired and really running their marketing, but also really helping clean up a lot of the marketing financial sides of things. Because when I came in, they had no idea their cost per lead surrounding like the true integrous cost per lead per channel, and then also the cost per customer. Because when we're thinking about trust as this conversation, it actually kind of goes hand in hand with the way that we look at our customers from a financial perspective, from an operational perspective. Trust is just another lens through which we can view our customer and the experience we're giving them. Because if we're not clear and we're not tracking every single step of the customer experience with us, we're never truly going to know our numbers. We're never truly going to actually have the systems in place to be able to know these things. And we're also not going to be able to assess where does the trust break down? Where do we actually need to improve this process? And what I typically do with our clients is we spend the first 60 to 90 days, even depending on the size of the business, diving deep into who they are. And honestly, now with AI, we can go even faster. But it's so important that we understand before we go and build out an entire marketing strategy and a brand optimization plan, that we're not just building off of data that we don't have or building off of good thoughts or whims. We actually are building it based on the data. And so with this whole process, we analyze from the very, very top of the funnel all the way through to the conclusion of the sale and fulfillment, and they're done. The customer is off at sea, and they're successfully launched and happy, ideally. But we don't just look at that too. We actually analyze what is the customer lifetime value. And that was something that was really important. As I talked to the CMO of the fastest growing company in the US, I said, what is the metric you use to measure trust? And he said customer lifetime value. And I thought that was a brilliant, brilliant comment that every single one of us needs to be paying attention to, be measuring, and also be intentionally building out new products to increase the customer lifetime value. Because so often we get stuck at lead generation. Okay, let's make sure we're doing fulfillment, sure. But then we never think about, oh, but then how can we actually retain these people? How can we actually continue to sell? We already have their trust. We actually have that sale. They've already exchanged money. Once someone has exchanged money with us, psychologically, they're predisposed to continue to do so. So how do I continue to take the customers that I've already done the work to win? How do I continue to take them on this experience and on this journey of working with us? And so for one of our clients, we encourage them to actually expand their services. So one was a home service company, and we actually encouraged them to add on. They added on a service that was cleaning gutters and doing gutter repair. So they had added that in, and it exponentially helped, not just with in terms of bottom line, but it helped with retention. It helped then to also just be physically engaged with the customer. And then they could see, oh, by the way, I didn't know your sump pump actually needs repair. They wouldn't have caught that just with that one first service, but on the second service, the second time they show up at the house, they're able to see that that's another opportunity. So with customer lifetime value, not just are we extending the revenue opportunities, but we're building the trust that then further allows, it's like the elongated lifespan that then allows for them to also start going and telling people about you. So when you think, kind of visualize, like here's the lifespan of the customer. Now there's all these different tendrils of, yes, them doing more business with us, but then because we're in this ongoing relationship, maybe it's a subscription as a service where it's an annual check on the sump pump, using that same example. Now they actually have more opportunities to remember you and now have you be the first person they call when they do need another service, or they need another fix or check up on something that they've already moved through that whole process of buying from you to begin with. And then they'll also be thinking of you in terms of who they might refer to their neighbors. Y'all, my family painting business, we have been offered up as a potential company by referral in so many like local, hyper local Facebook groups. And so the more that we're able to just kind of stay top of mind through services, but also through this is where not a lot of people like to hear this, but this is where tap into your email list. Y'all, a lot of our clients right now, we're actually helping them to kind of resurge this engagement with people's inboxes. That is a place where there is some competition for sure, but you own those emails. And those emails can be used across the board in so many multivarious ways. You can, yes, use them for targeting on Facebook. You can use them for targeting in other places. But what is so powerful about this is that you own these. You're not just blindly trusting the algorithm. Another thing you can do is based on the engagement with the emails, you can actually tailor. Now that I know that this is a group of people who are very likely to either buy from me or engage with me, now you can go to Facebook and say, Facebook, I actually want this type of list because I know that they are engaged with me in my inbox. So create an audience that looks like these people. So there's just a lot we can do. But if we're not actually taking radical responsibility to go and get to know by way of nurturing, by way of re-engaging, we might really be missing opportunities and leaving them on the table. So when we think of trust as a KPI, it's not just the top of the funnel. It's not just at the very, very bottom of the funnel in terms of the lifetime value. It's every single touch point in between. And for the most part, a lot of times customers may not be ready to buy. There might actually be a number of days, months, weeks where they're not quite willing to pull out their credit card yet. So then the question is, how are you actually building trust at a subconscious level? Well, one of the ways that you build trust is by delivering value. And I mean really delivering value. I was on an answer engine optimization workshop. So this is a workshop dedicated to how do we help businesses get found, not just on Google anymore, but within answer engines like ChatGPT. Because people are searching there. Even just the other day, my family's painting business, somebody contacted us and was like, yeah, ChatGPT recommended you as a painting company to serve me in Baltimore, Maryland. It was wild. Mark Willie, I just saw you say, deliver results and the business repeats and grows. Add on growth together is value added for all. I love that. I love that. And what you just said, Mark, is just effectively like if you've got the foundation and then adding on to that. I love that point about the delivering the results and then repeating it. And it's just making it a well-oiled machine. Because again, back to what Matt was saying, when his company was acquired, he was selling systems. He was selling trust. He was selling the delivery. He was selling the proven, repeatable processes that his business has successfully established. And that's what private equity was purchasing. And I was on a conversation, actually, Jennifer Bagley was on the show 2 days ago on Monday on the Craft and Calling podcast. And she was talking about AI and how it is so incredibly important that we're incorporating this into our businesses, because now we have the time. It's not just, oh, let me add AI in to automate everything and then just kick my heels back. No, during the free time, now we go and actually engage with our customers. And now we establish real, meaningful human to human connections. Y'all, one of our clients that we were filling out a form and just kind of testing different vendors, because we scheduled a consultation with them, they sent us a free bottle of champagne. Already, we all were thrilled. We were all so emotionally predisposed to this company. I don't think we even went with them, but it was just like, I will never forget this experience. Maybe they did. I honestly don't remember. But we were all over the moon. They called us into the office and they were like, guess what happened? All of us were freaking out. Y'all, how can we create a true experience? Because we now have a technology and a tool that can help us be more automated with our systems, we should be even more experiential with our entire offering and service at every single touch point of the journey. How can we enhance their experience? One of the things that I advised another company to do the other week was on the other side of somebody filling out a form. So if you need if you have a business, anyone has a business where somebody needs to fill out a form to effectively consult with you, hire you for your service, if they need to figure out some kind of calendar, some type of communication. On the back end of filling out the form, have a waiting room on Zoom and say, do you want to actually talk with us now? And then if you have an EA, or if you have someone on your team, a sales manager or a business developer who can actually be in that waiting room, man, if you can close them right then when they're thinking about you, what's so great about that is that stops them from going to the next person. Because maybe they call, maybe they don't, maybe they just fill out a form. But if you give them the opportunity to meet with you then and there, or even say, hey, we've got a live agent. Do you want to chat with us and schedule your appointment? Or do you want to enter the waiting room and speak with us live? Y'all, this is huge, because now we're not sitting there doing busy work anymore. That can truly be automated with some incredible systems and processes in place with what AI can do. And this is where it's really, really simple in so many ways. When I was on this conversation on Monday, it was so helpful. I asked Jennifer, I said, what are you doing first? How should people take the first step to really start engaging with AI? And she said, start with conversational AI, which is a ChatGPT, some kind of like one-to-one bot connection and conversation. And then once you start getting used to that, then you can start kind of exploring, okay, what's possible here? And y'all, this concept of experience, creating an experience with your customer, start with doing the same thing. And this is going to sound crazy. Do that with AI. I have had an entirely different way of engaging with some of my robots by way of saying, I want to create an experience. I want people to feel this way. What would you advise me to do? And because this machine is way smarter than I am in so many ways, it gives me this amazing like sketch of all these possible ways to thrill and delight my customers, and different ways to engage with them in terms of messaging and in terms of tactics and things I just had never thought of before. And y'all, if we start thinking and changing our mindset around, okay, my delivery is beyond just the actual service itself, it's an experience. What is the experience I'm creating for my customer? And you always see this with the best and biggest brands. Apple. People would camp out overnight. Chick-fil-A, people would literally do the same thing, do an overnight camp out before a new store launched. It is wild the type of brand loyalty that comes when you actually established a trust eroded type of business where people know the experience they're going to get with you. People are buying off of the anticipated experience that you're offering to them. So if you want to deliver an experience that's high-end, that's luxury, that's maybe a little bit slower because we do things the right way, that's so beautiful and so perfect. Or if you want to have one that's like, hey, we We do not cut corners. We do it the right way. We are fast. We are out of there. You're never even going to see us. So now it's like, hey, do you want kind of the plush, the luxury where we're very involved, or do you want to never see us? Those are two very different experiences and two very different audiences. But if we're not clear, this is where what I've been sharing over the last couple of days about speaking the truth, setting the expectation about what it is that they're going to experience is so critically important, because a strong brand speaks the truth and thus demarcates, and people will understand I am not your ideal market, or I'm actually attracted to you. So they're going to be attracted or repelled. But we have to be brave enough. We have to be brave enough to actually kind of like roll our shoulders back and stand up tall and say, okay, this is who we are. And so when we do the work to really think about, okay, this is who I am, and this is the type of experience I want to create, then it's now let's go and analyze every step of the customer life cycle. And then on the other side, once they actually fill out the customer journey, we've done fulfillment, they're done. Okay, what's the next step? How are we going to re-engage them? What kind of product is best for them in the next kind of like season of their customer journey life? So y'all, the more that we actually are being intentional to, yes, incorporate some of the, I find AI to be so fascinating and also very boring sometimes, because a lot of it is systems. And it is so incredibly freeing, because now we have more time on our hands to really delight our customers. I mean, even just the other day, it was one of our customers' birthdays, and just being able to send him a note and see that, rather than having my head down working, I was able to pick my head up and actually engage on a human to human level. And so the more that we actually pick our heads up out of our business, the more we think with an experiential lens and through the eyes of who am I and what is the experience I want to create, and then bridging the gap through the use of these amazing, brilliant technological tools that can really advance us in the expert experiential delivery of an amazing product. Our quality of delivery cannot diminish, even though we're giving an amazing experience. Both need to be matched. But the reality is that if we're not clear on our experience, we're just having more and more competitors coming in with just as good of a product, if not better. So then we have to consider our experience is what it really differentiates us. So the who we are and the experience that we're delivering are really the two core pillars of what makes us different from every single other person on the market, because these products are becoming commodities. But what sets it apart is the experience and the brand. So trust is the new KPI, and the way we measure trust, as per Matt Boudere-Shapiro, the CMO of the fastest growing company in the US, it's the customer lifetime value. Are people staying? Are they leaving? And then one last note before I sign off here. Y'all, one of our clients, I went in and looked at the entire customer journey to see where there were gaps. And I asked them for the percentage of cancellations at the very bottom of the funnel. So the customer had already given money. And I found out that out of all their total sales for the entire previous year, 11% of all the sold jobs ended up being canceled. Y'all, that is unacceptable. And there was no one monitoring that. There was no one watching at the handoff between sales and fulfillment. And people were sitting for months, never hearing from the client. And that is like inconceivable. Like, that's so unacceptable. But no one was paying attention, because everyone was staying in their silos. So when trust becomes a KPI that we're starting to track, it flows through it's the through line. Regardless of department, regardless of silo, regardless of customer journey stage. Trust is the through line that brings the brand experience with continuity and consistency, and allows for us to then identify gaps and then fix the broken holes, and ideally mend it through some semblance of automation, so that it's no longer reliant on a human dropping the ball and making the mistake, and instead freeing the human to have those personal calls, those personal touch bases. Y'all, the ability to remember, oh my gosh. Hey, so Joe is operations guy. Joe, I'm the sales guy, Fred. Joe, I want you to know that it's Sally Joe's birthday this weekend, and I think we should take 10, $15. Marketing gave us some extra dollars. Go get our flowers on your way into work. Y'all, I was going on, so I'm going to give a real life story. I was on my way to a job site for our family painting business, and I went and I got a latte, and I made it the way I liked it because I was like, if she doesn't want it, I'll at least drink it. And I met her, and she didn't want my latte, so I drank it. And we ended up going to the theater together because she was so delightful, and it turned into this amazing job, and such a big opportunity came from that. But y'all, it's those touch points. It's those moments that really connect on an emotional level. We have to be engaging in the business realm the same way that we do in our personal lives. We can never turn off one part. And what I mean by that is the emotional part of what moves a customer to choose you does not turn off after they sign on the dotted line. We have to continue to engage with them on an emotional level and maintain that connection all the way through, because they may end up being repeat customers, your greatest evangelists telling people about you, much less so thinking about customer lifetime value. Maybe you have multiple other products that they could use. So them signing, the exchange of money is by no means the end of the relationship. And we have to be taking radical responsibility for that relationship all the way through at every single touch point. So with that, thank you all so much for joining me tonight on the Knowing